He is the real John Wayne. I mean, he had everything, including the reputation that he left baseball for how many years, 4 or 5 years, to fight in Korea as a Marine pilot. I mean, he was tough as nails. And I'll tell you a couple of things about Ted. He was a pretty good golfer. Not as good a golfer as he was baseball player, but he was better at swear words. He came up with the most amazing swear word I've ever heard. It had like 2 verbs and 3 adjectives and a couple nouns. It wasn't a sentence, but it was 5 words strung together that I've never heard before, but I've never forgotten, which I will never repeat on camera. Citrus Hills was a place in Florida that they built as a development and used him. They gave him a house in Citrus Hills. One of the backers of Citrus Hills, and Ted Williams, lived in New Hampshire, and I was in New Hampshire at the time. So we got together. He asked me if I would go down to Citrus Hills and do these commercials with Ted for Citrus Hills, and I said absolutely. I had met Ted before in Manchester and was an MC with him at an event when I would sit on stage with him and ask him questions when I was a cub reporter at this WGIR radio station, long time ago, back when the world was flat. So then they had this Ted Williams Hitters Museum. It was a real mortar brick museum that had all of his collections of stuff, fishing, hunting, baseball. It was amazing. And we did a couple shows from down there. But when they had the opening, it was an opportunity that I will never forget. The opening of the Ted Williams Museum, not only baseball luminaries, not only Johnny Pesky's and Bob Fellers and Enos Slaughters and just great names, great Hall of Famers. Muhammad Ali. Actually met Muhammad Ali at the Ted Williams Museum. And Muhammad Ali, he had Parkinson's at the time, but he came in a limousine and he walked up the way, and he didn't sign autographs, but he gave you a card, a business card with his autograph on it. Muhammad Ali, the champ, whatever, and he'd pass out his cards with his autograph. Be that as it may. My favorite Ted Williams story is one of the saddest. It's the last time I ever saw him. It was at one of the museum dedications, and it had it every year, an annual event. And I had an opportunity to MC a couple of those. This is one year that I asked them. I really didn't want to MC. I just wanted to sit in the back. And I'm really glad I did, because it was the last time I ever saw him. He was in a wheelchair, and he made some whispering comments to the crowd that was there, and it was obvious that things were not going well. As they brought him out, his son John Henry and daughter Claudia were bringing him out in the wheelchair. And I happened to be standing, I was standing at the time, right there. And John Henry said, "Dad, you remember, what's his name, from Boston?" And said, "Sure." And a tear was coming down his cheek. This is Ted Williams. This is John Wayne. This is the Marine pilot. This was the toughest, meanest guy you could ever see, outwardly. Tears coming down the cheek. I took my hand and wiped a tear off his cheek. And he whispered, "Thank you." What was going through my mind at that time? I don't know what would go through your mind at that time. Put yourself in that position. Because whoever thought you'd ever be in that position, holding a tear you wiped off of Ted Williams' cheek? I'm saying, what am I going to do with his DNA? Am I going to lick it? Am I going to rub it on me? What am I going to do with it? I have nothing to put it in, but I'm holding Ted Williams' DNA. The sad part about it was the tear and the crying and the goodbye type of thing. But seriously, who would ever have a connection like that? It happened to somebody else. It wasn't really me. But I just happened to be in that spot. Nothing I did except be there. So it was pretty amazing. There were other things about Ted. He was irascible. And if he was pissed off, get out of the way. And it didn't take much to piss him off. We were out fishing. And of course he had great respect and great love for fishing. And he had great respect and great love for the fish. I mean, so what they had done, they had captured these largemouth bass, striped bass, and put them in these little crates. This was a video shoot, so they had a commercial. So they had to put the fish on the end. And Ted was pissed. He didn't like the way they were treating the fish. He said, let them go. I'm not going to deal with it. And he just told the producer, director, whatever, I'm done. If you don't do that, I'm out of here. I'm not going to do this. Fish were let go. Ted got his way. And so what happened was they put this little minnow on my line. And I caught the minnow and Ted's line was, oh, and you think you're a great sportscaster. Something like that. It was pretty cool. We also did a tennis video and a golfing video. And the golfing video, spoke for itself because it was more about the swear words than it was anything about hitting golf balls. Ted had a very interesting relationship with his children, Claudia and John Henry Jr. First of all, John Henry Jr. controlled Ted. I think Ted had the soft spot in Ted was his kids. I think he felt extremely guilty about his presence and his time raising his kids, and he acted that out in a way he allowed John Henry to run his life. John Henry would make him sit down, sign 1,000 bats, because John Henry was a great marketer. Sit down and sign 1,000 bats, and John Henry would sell the bats. So it was all about Ted Williams Incorporated. The night that we did Ted, Bobby, and Larry, John Henry said there can be no pictures taken in the studio except for the ones I'm going to take. So he took the pictures and sold the pictures for like $500. So he marketed that. So I really think a lot of Ted's life was guilt over his kids. Claudia told me at a lunch we had in Needham, right by the train station, said that they wrote a book about my family, it would be the most dysfunctional family you could ever imagine. That's what she said, and she was very sincere about it. We didn't get into details, but I can just say, you can imagine what Ted Williams' family might have been like with him at the helm and the guilt and the baseball and everything that was coming his way. He was a volcano and could erupt at any time. I think the best memory that I had of Ted was going through his museum with him as we filmed. It was about a half hour. We took a walk through his museum, him and I alone. As you walk into the museum, there was a sign. The sign said, there was the greatest hitter that ever lived. And of course it was about him. As we walked in the museum, we did a video and he would point out the things. He would be really excited about the fishing videos, the fishing stories and things that he had in there. Baseball, come see, come saw. But it was the fishing stuff and the hunting stuff that he was really proud of. So I think the time shared with him alone, talking about this and that and how he appreciated that and what he had to go through to get there, that was just priceless stuff. I don't know where the video is. Don't I wish I had that. But the reality was I would have loved to have kept all of that. So all I can do now is talk about it. I think he was driven to be the best at whatever he did, whether it was fishing, whether it was flying, whether it was combat, whether it was standing in a batter's box looking at a baseball coming in at 90 miles an hour. He was driven to be the best. And you know what? He was. And you're saying, well, there must have been another level to him, another level of awareness. No, not possible. he was not just another guy. He was never just another guy. His mother was a Salvation Army worker in San Diego. He grew up in a very poor household. And whatever it was, wherever he got the talent, wherever the genealogy takes you back in his long distant past, it all ended up in that batter's box where he was just not another guy. He was going to be the best, and you know what? Damn it, he was. He was really the best.